It's Monday night, and you know what that means. Jersey First TV proudly brings to you the latest edition of Real Talk, and I am New Jersey's premier award-winning journalist, top 50 Latino, as voted on by the Latino Spirit Online magazine. Certainly the weapon of mass disruption in Garden State media, without a doubt the people's choice and the people's voice. And ladies and gentlemen, we all know it's the most handsome face that runs the place. Yes, it's me, Fernando, Uribe. Happy Monday to all of you, ladies and gentlemen. Again, these summer weeks are flying by. I don't know about you, but I'm looking forward to September. Fall, the leaves are changing. The NFL returns. I'm excited, folks. More on that a little bit later. But, of course, I want to thank you all for tuning in from wherever and however you may be doing so right now on Facebook Live via StreamYard, and also on the Jersey First YouTube page, as well as on LinkedIn and Twitter. And speaking of social media, ladies and gentlemen, hey, take a moment. Always remember that sharing is caring. Make sure you always like our pages on Facebook. Of course, Real Talk with Fernando Uribe and Jersey First, as well as follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Jersey First. Of course, my own Instagram and Twitter, it's the same handle, at the Fernando Zone. And of course, on YouTube, click the subscribe button. It takes 2 seconds, ladies and gentlemen, and you'll be made aware of all the notifications of all the great content brought to you by Jersey First TV. And of course, wherever you get your podcast, whether it's SoundCloud or Spotify, whether you're driving down the shore on Mondays to go to Tiki Mondays at Martel's Tiki Bar, maybe taking a road trip with friends, I don't know, going to catch a ball game, maybe going to the beach, I don't know, food festivals, wherever it is you go, folks. I'm sure you'll be in your car or maybe in mass transit or even taking Uber or Lyft. Hey, download Jersey First from any PC, Mac, smartphone, or tablet and take it with you all throughout the summer. Folks, we always appreciate you showing support for Jersey First TV. And of course, ladies and gentlemen, I cannot say enough how proud I am to be on the dream team of Garden State Media. That's right, folks. It is Jersey First TV. Of course, brand new episodes of the Nader Narrative, hosted by the incredible Elizabeth Nader, premiere every Thursday via jerseyfirst.org/TV, and also brand new episodes of Bridging the Gap with AJ Malilo and Stephen Rombolo. I'll tell you, very, very commonsensical, strong, principled, conservative millennials. Hey, can't go wrong with listening to them, folks. Oh, brand new episodes for them also premiere on Thursdays. And of course, every Monday Night Live, folks, right here on jerseyfirst.org/TV. And of course, on all the aforementioned social media platforms, I bring you brand new episodes of Real Talk with Fernando Uribe. Folks, you want to stick around for the end of this show? I'll have a lot to say about Tom Moran and NJ.com, as well as Star Ledger. I love picking on them because they're just so responsible when it comes to journalism, if that's even what they're really practicing. But you know what? I have a lot to say about Tom Moran. You do not want to miss out on that. But folks, ladies and gentlemen, obviously it is an election year, and certainly I've spent the better part of 2023, obviously interviewing legislative candidates, incumbents, journalists, activists. And of course, it is a legislative year, obviously coming up on November the 7th. All 120 legislative seats are up for grabs in Trenton. So, hey, we can try to win some seats in Central and South Jersey and try to flip, or at least come close to flipping the legislature as red as this beautiful red jacket I'm wearing. I hope it can happen. But also, ladies and gentlemen, at a local level, we have council races all over the place. Obviously, nearby in Hoboken, we have city council races, but also throughout different parts of the state, there are also municipal races as well, town council, and also mayoral races. And of course, this week's edition of Real Talk discusses one of the more beautiful municipalities in southern Bergen County, folks. That's the municipality of Bogota. And joining me live tonight is the Republican candidate for mayor in the beautiful township of Bogota, New Jersey. Hey, Daniele Fede joins us here on Real Talk. Danielle, how are you?
Hi, good evening.
It's good to have you on here. Danielle, folks, if you're just curious, obviously, if you're not familiar, Bogota, New Jersey is located really on the eastern shore of the Hackensack River, one of the more beautiful municipalities in southern Bergen County, very accessible to get to, right from the George Washington Bridge, Jersey Turnpike, Garden State Parkway, Route 1 and 9, Route 80. It's a beautiful township, beautiful commerce, wonderful businesses, great schools, and certainly a very interesting mayoral race this year, without a doubt, coming up in November. Danielle, I got to ask you, like I do every other candidate, from my notes here, the current mayor, who is a Republican, his term does end at the end of this year. He has chosen not to run. You're running against a Democratic challenger. And normally, municipal races tend to be nonpartisan, where party doesn't really matter, but that's not the case this year in Bogota. Is that fair to say?
That's right. Bogota's been a partisan town for a very long time.
So when we look at Bogota overall, I mean, obviously, talking off the air with you, it's really comprised of a lot of Democrats on the council in the township, but there's been a Republican mayor. You're looking to continue that trend. Very simply, why are you running?
Why am I running? So I've been involved with town politics and the town in general since 1996 when I came into town.
Okay.
I care about our town. I care about our community, and I'm always interested in giving back. I've done that as a member of the Environmental Commission since 1996. I'm in Emergency Services, the Rescue Squad. I've been on the council for 7 years. I took a year off this year. So I understand the government, and I feel that I have qualifications and experience to kick it up a notch from council to mayor. Our town.
Now we'll get to your expertise. We'll get to your expertise in environmental law in a moment, because that's really fascinating for me as someone who gets, ostracized all the time by my peers in journalism that I'm a climate denier, or I use terms like climate hysteria. We'll get to that a little bit later. Obviously, it's always an interesting topic to talk about. But on a local level, though, Danielle, we look at a town like Bogota, very much like a lot of Bergen County. It has become pretty solidly blue within the last decade or so. Obviously, no different than nearby townships. At a local level, obviously, you've been involved in politics for quite some time. What are the issues that stand out for you mostly? And when you're going, I'm sure, door to door, talking to residents during these summer months, whether it's at food festivals, town halls of any kind, or just, talking to people in general on the campaign trail, what seems to be the biggest issues that residents are telling you about?
Always taxes, right? Public safety, police, roads, potholes. Streets need to be paved, and believe it or not, trees and sidewalks. Their tree needs attention.
It's always important to have trees.
Yep.
Well, it's always important to have trees. You want to make a town nice and green as possible. But let me ask you, let's sort of go in order there of what you just listed. Obviously, let's start with taxes. And I talk about this. I'm one of the few journalists in New Jersey that's actually doing his job and talking about taxes. New Jersey, unfortunately, has a very unfavorable distinction where it has the highest property taxes in the country, at an average of $9,112. Obviously, I live in Hudson County. I can go on River Road right into Fort Lee, maybe a little bit north of Fort Lee into more of northern Bergen County, towns like Alpine and Closter and Cresco. We're talking about like $12,000, $13,000, $14,000, even $15,000 for property taxes. I can go south on the turnpike, maybe go on 78. I can go by Short Hills. We're talking about $24,000. So the state obviously has a serious problem when it comes to property taxes. What's sort of the level of severity in the town of Bogota?
So I have a 60 by 100 foot lot, and my taxes are $14,000 a year. So, and people understand that they have to pay taxes, and I never promise that I'm going to reduce taxes because a lot of it's out of our control, right? School board is two-thirds of which we have no control over, the county and all that. So people really want to make sure that they're getting something for their money. Is there public safety? Are there streets being paved? So, taxes are unfortunately a necessary evil. We need to pay our police. We need to pay our DPW. We need to keep our streets clean. We need to keep our schools going. So it's something that people understand. And I think over the years, the outrage has lessened a bit because it's everywhere. But people want to make sure they're getting something for their money.
Well, let me ask you this, though, because obviously I'm always one that's always wondering where property taxes go. And again, I don't want to be teaching a civics class right now tonight, folks. And by the way, gentlemen, it's 7:10 here on the East Coast. Click that share button. Sharing is caring. My guest tonight live right now is Bogota mayoral candidate Daniele Fede. Join us here on Jersey First TV. Danielle, let me ask you this, because, when I think of property taxes, I think about how our public schools are funded. Obviously, at a municipal level, again, not to be teaching a civics class, but that's how our schools are paid for. Certainly, there are municipalities that get some aid from Trenton. Obviously, that continues to be scrutinized tremendously on a statewide level. But really, at a local level, what we're paying for property taxes is what funds our schools, is what makes sure that we can hire more teachers, have the best technology available to our kids in our public schools. Where would you rank right now how Bogota's doing with the school board and in terms of funding the way that it's really laid out every year?
Funding? Well, so there are necessary costs in education, teachers, facilities. So when I was on the finance chair, we would pay, I think the monthly check to the Board of Education was somewhere between 1.4 to 1.6 million dollars per month. Okay. Our municipal budget is 9 million. So unfortunately, the money needs to go to the schools because we need to educate our children. And there's so many mandates and curriculum. I'm not on the Board of Education, so I don't really understand their budget. But what I do understand is it's money that has to be spent. Another element of the budget is special ed. We have, as every community, a growing number of children that have special needs. And I think our autism rate in our town is also so very high. And the children with special needs, we need to take care of them, and that also increases and adds to the cost of education.
Let me ask you this about the Bogota School Board again, for our viewers that aren't aware. Is it an elected school board, or is it an appointed school board like a lot of nearby municipalities tend to have?
It is elected school board, and they are elected in November.
Okay. Oh, all right. So it's gonna be a busy season in Bogota for sure. And a little bit more on the school board in a moment, because school board elections and school board meetings are high on my priority list for sure. But we'll get back to that in a moment. But you also talked about, and just looking at my notes here, talking about quality of life, law enforcement. Is the police department properly funded in Bogota? I mean, is there a need for more police officers, or is there just, I guess, for precautionary purposes, do you want to make sure that there's sufficient funding to hire more?
There are enough police officers. There's always the request for more. So, but I believe that our town is adequately covered by our police department. We've been hiring on average two a year. We've had certain police officers retire, but according to the chief, because I was the police commissioner last year, the needs are being met.
When we talk about quality of life, I mean, Danielle, not to be argumentative, I know you're an attorney, you're probably used to dealing with argumentative people, but the term quality of life means different things to different people. And what I consider quality of life, I think, might differ from the next 10 people that I poll on the issue. When you're talking to residents during this campaign season, what specifically are the quality of life issues that matter most to Bogota residents?
Speeding. Everybody thinks that people are going 60 miles an hour on their 25-mile-an-hour street. Speeding is the number one. They call themselves, the Cypress Avenue roadway or the Daytona. Speeding is a big issue. And actually, 2 years ago, we started a Slow Down in Our Town campaign and purchased signs and purchased equipment that shows you your speed. Speeding is, I forgot to say, when you say, what do people say in your doorway? They say, people are speeding on my street. That's probably the number 2 thing they say. And they're concerned about it.
I mean, just from experience, when I drive on Route 1 and 9, well, really Route 1, I don't know. Sometimes I wonder why the 9 is up here, since Route 9 is nowhere near us. But as you're driving north on Route 1, leaving Hudson County, obviously, you enter Richfield. You'll pass the Richfield Circle. You'll be going into, parts of Bogota, Leonia, Palisades Park, respectively. I got to tell you, when I'm driving Route 1 north, going towards Inglewood, I mean, it's a single lane. Obviously, it's not like it's like the rest of Route 1, right? Where cars can come in and out. It just seems like, I see all those solar powered signs all the time about it. This is your speed. And I always laugh, because it's like, well, your speed is supposed, I think it's like you said, 25 to 29 miles per hour, I think. And I'll be the first one to tell you, I'm guilty of, like, when I look at it, I'm like, oh, wow, it's 45, 46. Right. And I'm like, okay, I need to slow down at some point. Bergen County cops tend to be a little like vultures, and they're waiting in the wings to certainly stop people. And rightfully so. Obviously, we want to try to reduce traffic accidents and fatalities respectively. But I mean, is that really solvable?
No, and some of it's perspective. We've actually had police sergeants go with residents who are complaining, have them sit in the car, show them the radar, and show that somebody they think is going 45 is really going 28. So some of it is perception. Some of it is reality. Although I don't see people going down my street 45 miles an hour. I don't believe that's true.
I mean, I've been guilty of that. Maybe late coming back, visiting somebody. I'm like, I just want to get home. But it's interesting though, because we look at the roads, obviously, that go into Bogota. It's a very accessible municipality. It's near every major road. It's right near the George Washington Bridge. If you want to go into New York City, it's right near Route 95, nearby Turnpike Parkway, Route 80, stuff like that. What are you seeing from residents, though, Danielle, as it pertains to going back to the quality of life issue, where there either need to be more checkpoints? I mean, is there a cry for that, for example, that, hey, maybe we need more checkpoints on the weekends or at certain times of the week or something?
The cry is every street wants speed bumps. Everybody asks for speed bumps. And it's not going to happen for a whole bunch of reasons. Many of the streets are county roads, which we have no control over. It will do damage to cars, DPW, trucks. So that's what people think the solution is. Although we did, when we had our slow down our town campaign and we gave out lawn signs to people, within 2 days, the first 100 lawn signs were gone because everybody wanted to be a part of this campaign.
Well, it's funny you mentioned speed bumps because I know in Hudson County, a lot of municipalities have adopted that, speed bumps. I'm not going to lie. I think sometimes it gets a little bit annoying because there might be 2 or 3 speed bumps on a long street. And I'm like, Jesus Christ, what's going on here? And obviously it's a reminder to slow down. You certainly don't want to ruin your alignment. I mean, I'm not a mechanic, but you don't need to be one to understand that, you speed over enough of those bumps. I mean, it's going to harm your car. So I understand that that's the purpose of it as a deterrent. But have you seen any data that really, really works in other municipalities, or is it just one of those things that just becomes commonplace?
I think anybody knows, once they know, these things, ways and things like that. I think any deterrent, people find their way around it. So in Teaneck, it's 25 miles an hour on River Road, and when you come into Bogota, it's 25. And there would always be a police officer sitting on the roadway as it goes from 35 to 25, and they would catch people. They don't have to be there anymore because everybody knew that they were going to get a ticket if they did that. So I think that there's adequate deterrence. Speed bumps, I don't have experience with it in Bogota, so I can't tell you whether they work or they don't work. But I think any kind of deterrent, like you said, the radar signs, after walking, be fun. Hey, how fast can I go by the radar sign? And, what number can I trigger? So I don't know if I have
fair enough.
Speed bumps, yeah.
Danielle, let me ask you this. Obviously, the current mayor is not running for another term. It's predominantly a blue town, like a lot of southern Bergen County is. The council is entirely comprised of Democrats, right?
That's correct.
Okay. So realistically, how do you feel your chances are? Obviously, there's a Republican mayor, so we know Republicans can get elected. Mm-hmm. But in an area like, southern Bergen County that is just becoming progressively bluer for different reasons, how do you look at your chances coming up in November?
Well, I'm cautiously optimistic, and maybe I'm even a little bit better than that. So I've been involved in town, like I said, for 30 years. I'm a leader in our community. I've proven myself that I'm a proven leader and accomplished. I definitely cross the aisle. You have to. You can't rely on the 900 Republicans to win office. So it's certainly with the people that know who I am, very supportive on all sides of the aisle. It's, the challenge is getting to know the people that are just new to town, that come in from New York, and that vote for a particular party and don't get to know the people. So that's what we're working on, is getting to know all the new voters and showing them, who we are. We do the work.
Danielle, normally municipal elections don't get petty or snippy or chippy. Are we seeing any of that so far in Bogota?
Not yet.
I'm sorry about that, folks. Quick technical difficulty there. I apologize. It's 7:20 here on the East Coast. We appreciate you still tuning in with us. Unfortunately, Verizon Fios is perhaps the biggest garbage there is in fiber optics, but I'll have an episode on Verizon Fios later this election season. But again, folks, our guest tonight right now is Daniele Fede, the Republican mayoral candidate in the municipality of Bogota, New Jersey, joining us here live on Real Talk. Danielle, again, before Verizon Fios really interrupted me, is the election, and even though it's not, at the municipal level, it normally doesn't get too chippy or fickle. Are we seeing any of that right now with about maybe 2 months to go?
We won't see it yet. Usually we see it around middle of October, Halloween time. And there's usually a Halloween piece with somebody spooky or a witch hat, or, several years ago I had, a Trump wig on. They portray me as all kinds of things, One time I had a little red dress with a stick because I plant trees and they look like little sticks and they become trees. So, I mean, there's mockery, but, it's just part of the process. And I'm not at all impacted by it.
No, listen, it can certainly be very childish and annoying, and we all know politics can bring out the worst in people, right? I mean, obviously we're living in this sort of time of ridiculous tribalism in our political climate. And, we'll get to that in a moment. But let me just ask you quite bluntly, why are you a better choice than your Democratic opponent?
Why? Because I have, well, how am I saying this nice way? I'm a better leader. I listen to people. I'm calm. I'm deliberate. I explain things. I'm not dismissive to anybody. I'll listen to all ideas. But at the end of the day, we just have to do what's right for our town, not for our party. So, Bogota is a town of 5,900 residents, and every person, every individual needs to be represented, not just, I guess I'll use the words, certain special interests.
Fair enough. I spent a good part of this program for months or every years now talking about everything that Democrats do wrong in Trenton. I mean, there's a lot of, they give me material. I don't even have to try anymore in Trenton, where, we have grown men and women that never took an economics course. It shows by the way that they spend unnecessarily. I mean, we're seeing budgets in Trenton, for example, Danielle, they're getting fatter than the latest Victoria's Secret models that they're parading out there. They're subscribing to woke nonsense. They're showing us that they never took a biology course and that they failed it, obviously. And that's at the state level. Are we seeing that in the town of Bogota, where the Democrats on the town council are subscribing to woke nonsense, or a lot of the social justice, buffoonery that I like to make fun of because it just doesn't make sense to me, and it just really isn't rational? Are we seeing that in a town like Bogota?
No, what we're seeing a lot of is no, because you started off talking about spending this and spending that. We're hearing no. No, we don't want to spend money on this. No, we shouldn't spend money on that. And we have aging infrastructure, we have old facilities, and certain things need to get fixed. So we kind of joke that my opponent is the no candidate. She's voted no on some really critical things that we need. And
like what? Like what specifically?
A rec center. So we negotiated a pilot program with a developer down the street. When I was on the finance committee, we got a $3 million community. He tendered us $3 million to use for recreational purposes.
Sure.
Okay. And so years ago, she voted no on it because she wanted to have the money in hand. So when you buy your house, you don't have the money on hand. When you build a school, you don't have the money on hand. You bond for it, right? So we knew this money was coming in, and she voted no. I'm not going to vote on a bond. I want to have the money in hand. And unfortunately, 5 years later, post-COVID, all the construction materials, have priced through the roof. Asphalt's priced through the roof. And now we can't afford it. Or we may not be able to afford exactly what we want to do. So 5 years have gone by because of the no. It was no for the developer for the $3 million community benefit. It was no for bonding the rec center because we didn't have the money in hand. No, it shouldn't be here. It should be over there. And more obstructionist than spending frenzy, because that happened in the past. Everybody got raises. When I left office time before last, the DPW superintendent got a $30,000 raise, which was a 30% raise. In municipal level,
wow.
that's unheard of, right? 2%. So there's a little bit of kind of helping our friends out a little bit. But my opponent is just she'll vote no for anything that has to do with spending money. Youth Academy. We have a police junior youth academy. It's going on right now. Okay. The the commissioner, the police commissioner on the council asked for $7,500 to help these kids. And as all towns, Bogota's got a problem with kids acting out, with, mental health issues, with drug issues, with vaping. Kids are having a rough time post-COVID, right? So these are middle schoolers that need, some direction, and she voted no. No, I'm not giving any money to the Youth Academy. And it was good. So it was basically dead in the water, bringing back the Youth Academy to help 30 kids over the summer. So I actually stepped up and said, you know what? I don't need this money in my checkbook. I'm going to pledge the sponsorship of the Youth Academy. And so the Youth Academy is happening this year because luckily I had the means to do it. I'm helping. I gave a donation to the FOP and it's happening. So it's about finding solutions, maybe not always writing my check, but finding solutions where you need to work on a particular issue. You can't it's easy to say no, right? It's easy to say no. When you're a parent, right? It's easy to say no.
Sure.
Right? You have to find solutions, and, right now the council's 6-0, but, I hope in the future the council's, 2-4. And so you have to, I have friends on the council that are Democrats. So you have to find a middle ground. You have to do what's right for your town, not what's right for your party or your special interest or what you think you want to do. It's not what I want to do. It's what's right for the town, right?
Sure. Folks, if you just joined us right now, it's 7:27 here on the East Coast. Click that share button real quick, folks. Sharing my guest tonight is the Republican candidate for mayor in the township of Bogota, New Jersey, Daniele Fede, joining us here on Real Talk. Danielle, real quick, your opponent's a woman, right? The Democratic candidate for mayor is a woman?
So the next mayor of Bogota will be the first woman mayor.
Okay, you know what? All right, very nice. I mean, I'm certainly pulling for you, but it's interesting. And again, it's my show, so I'll make these jokes all I want. I know you'll take the high road, but I'm shocked to hear this about your opponent. It seems like this is probably the first woman in the history of the world that doesn't want to spend money. That's mind-boggling to me. I mean, I'm like, what? I'm hearing this and I'm like, wow, the first woman that doesn't want to spend money? Holy Toledo, Batman. My goodness. But in all seriousness, though, I mean, it sounds frustrating because it would seem that a town like everywhere else, listen, towns need rec centers. They need updated facilities. You want brand new amenities that are beneficial to children, to seniors, and to see someone like your opponent just be like, no, just seems like, what are you waiting for? Like money's just going to sit there and accrue interest. It doesn't work that way.
Right.
So, I mean, it's just frustrating. I think it's frustrating for sure, but please continue.
No, I also think that, I'm a lawyer, but I'm also in management and I understand how businesses run. And I think a town should run as a business. And, no disrespect to her profession, but she's a high school art teacher. So she's not, used to, from what I can see, budgets, or leadership or committee. She, is very good at what she does. She teaches her class. But how does that translate into, being a leader in government? I just think that what I do in life is a transferable skill in what I can do for my community.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like she's great at painting a canvas, but she may not know a lot about budgets, clearly. Folks, it's 7:30 here on the East Coast on Real Talk. My guest tonight, once again, is Daniele Fede, the Republican candidate for mayor in the township of Bogota. You're not running alone, Danielle. You do have a ticket. Tell us a little bit more about your ticket. I'll be interviewing some of them later in the fall, but tell me about the great people running with you.
Sure. So Michael Connors is a retired educator. He was a dean of students in the South Bronx. So he's tough. I served with him for probably at least 6 years on the council. So we've run together and walked this town many, many times. He also runs a basketball league in New York. I think he said there's 7,000 kids. So he's very involved. And obviously the rec center is a passion of his. Very involved with youth, and with children. Very bright. He was formerly the fire commissioner and the police commissioner. So again, he has experience in government. He's taken some time off and now is willing to come back. I think we both had a nice rest, and I think sometimes you need to step back from it for a little while. And then Marco Navarro is new to government, relatively new to Bogota. He is Ecuadorian. I forgot, Mike is Irish. I'm Italian, so we've got a nice United Nations going. He is a certified EMT, and so that's what he does all day, is pretty much saves people's lives. Marco and I met because we're both on the Bogota Rescue Squad. So that's how we know each other. He's currently on the Board of Education. He was a write-in candidate last year. We did a little bit of sneak and got him on. He's currently on the Board of Health as well. So he's very active in our community. Mike was on the rec committee, also very active in our community.
Well, I look forward to talking to Mike and Marco later in the fall. I mean, obviously there are slots that are scheduled, and I'm looking forward to speaking with them. So certainly, listen, I like to give candidates a voice on this program more than other shows do and more than other journalists do in the state, that's for sure. Let me ask you something real quick, though, Danielle. Again, I know it's been a busy day. I know you want to get back to campaigning, phone banking, everything else you're doing, obviously, as the weeks are leading up really to November. And, I mean, before you know it, I mean, let's be honest, November 7th will be here quickly, as they say. You mentioned the Board of Ed before. I know one of your running mates is on the Board of Ed now. Board of Ed meetings have been in our radar for some years now. And whether it's outside of New Jersey, certainly it's getting a lot of national attention. Parents going to school board meetings, voicing their disapproval over a lot of left-wing nonsense and woke buffoonery that I call all the time. But in New Jersey, I would say now more than ever, in the last couple of years, parents have become very engaged in their school boards. They've been going to meetings. We're seeing it on YouTube. We're seeing, obviously, one of the things, listen, I would argue there's never been anything good about the pandemic. But one thing that really came of it from a technology perspective is, again, the ability, let's say for you and I to have this show, for example, where you don't have to travel to a studio. It's convenient. It's done remotely via Zoom and or StreamYard. Same thing with school board meetings. Now, if you can't attend in person, you can view them online. But that hasn't stopped parents. 3 years after COVID, parents are very engaged going to school board meetings. Are you seeing that in Bogota, for example, or in nearby townships?
Nearby townships, like Westwood, I think is like the poster child for confrontation in Bergen County. But I think when they brought out what I call the health curriculum, I don't know if you're aware with what that is. Yeah. And whether you can opt your child out and the things that I was hearing, I haven't personally attended meetings, so I can't say, but the things I was hearing that they're going to teach, a first or second grader is mind-boggling. I do remember that we had sex ed in the senior year in high school, and I think it's a little bit too late to start teaching children about the birds and the bees. But I don't think we should be telling first and second graders about certain things. And I guess I'm a little bit prudish in my way.
Listen,
these things that
Danielle,
tell the kids. I know they were also allowed to opt out, right? And now apparently they're going to be taking that away, which I think is just wrong. And you could, a child could say, I want to be called Sammy today, and they don't have to tell the parents. Like, parents should have every say in raising their children. I don't think schools should overstep those bounds.
I'm with you. And again, it seems like Governor Murphy doesn't understand that simple basic premise. And he's a parent, which I think is hysterical in this entire scenario. But a lot of far left Democrats in Trenton, it seemed to be subscribing to his nonsense. But, I'm just happy parents are speaking up, and we're seeing it at school board meetings. Obviously, to your point about Westwood, I know that it's always entertaining to watch those school board meetings and see parents so engaged and so active in their children's education, really just concerned about, I understand when I was in elementary school, high school, I get it. I had gay classmates. I knew what lesbians were. I knew that bisexual people existed. That's all well and good. That's not my objection. Okay. Teaching, the contributions of gay people in American history, I'm not opposed to that. Just like we learn about Blacks, Hispanics, Asians, women, I'm not opposed to that. But the idea that in first or second grade, we need to start, trying to beat into kids' heads about gender identity and all this other nonsense. It's like, it drives me crazy. And listen, I get called a homophobe and a transphobe all the time. I don't care. That seems to be the response for anyone that really can't come up with a better rebuttal to what I'm talking about policy-wise. But at a local level, though, Danielle, are we seeing parents object at all in the township of Bogota? Are they raising any concerns? I know it's a statewide issue when it comes to the curriculum, but are parents that maybe you're talking to, have they raised any objections?
Absolutely. However, engagement by parents in general is low. In the sporting events, the parents like drop off the kids babysitting. It's very hard to get coaches. It's very hard to get parents to be engaged with their children. But I really do think that this health curriculum is bringing people out, and they're really questioning what it is that their child's being taught. But there's a lot of issues between that, and also just a lot of vaping and smoking and bullying and things like that. And it's got to be tough to be a kid, these days. There's just more ways of having people, hurt you, and it's all cyberbullying and things like that. But yeah, I don't have children, so I really can't speak for what they're teaching. But from what I'm hearing, I wouldn't be very comfortable as a parent having my children learn.
Sure, absolutely. Before I let you go, though, Danielle, it's 7:37 here. I appreciate you being an absolute peach to be on with me as long as you have. I know you've had a long day. You're also an attorney by day and certainly an environmental lawyer, which is interesting because when we think about environmental law, we think about those that practice environmental law. They don't tend to be conservatives like myself. I get accused of downplaying, climate change or whatever it's called this year. I'm sure it'll be called something else in 5 years. And I sometimes just say it to be bombastic, no, we're not going to be underwater. No, the Postal Service is not going to hire Aquaman to deliver mail because that's the only guy that's going to be qualified to do so. I understand we have to be more responsible with the environment. But at the same token, I think a lot of the hysteria that I'm seeing about, first it was global warming when I was a kid and adolescence, global warming. Then it was, climate change. And at some point, again, I don't need to be a climatologist to understand that the earth goes through cycles. And it's just funny to me that grown adults don't know that. In your experience as an environmental lawyer, what was your epiphany for pursuing that brand of law right out of law school?
So when I went to law school, there were very few fields a woman could go into and excel. Okay, it was a man's world in corporate banking. It was a man's world in real estate. So I was always interested in science. And when I took an environmental law course, I realized that it's, good for the environment and a way to excel and become an expert. And I made the right choice. So on a daily basis, I help clients buy properties and determine whether they're contaminated or not and help them remediate it. So I don't handle things like policy, solar, carbon footprints, things like that. I haven't figured out how to make money doing that. So I don't, but I do help people every day comply with the law, remove tanks from a gas station, clean up a dry cleaner. It's just something that I thought would, I'm one of those people, I really like to do the right thing for my community. And I also like to make money. So I had to find a way to marry those two things together.
Well, again, I think that you're doing a great job. And folks on social media, check out the Fede, Connors, and Navarro for Bogota Facebook page. Certainly check them out on Instagram as well. Danielle, I'll go on record. I'm rooting for you. I certainly hope you, along with Mr. Connors, Mr. Navarro, respectively, can win out this November. Certainly, again, I appreciate your time coming on here after a very busy day, really breaking down your campaign and why you're a better choice coming up on November the 7th. So I want to thank you for your time, and certainly I want to wish you the best of luck. I hope that on November 8th, I'll text you and say, hey, congratulations, Madam Mayor-elect. And I look forward to having you back on more regularly here on Real Talk. I'll give you the last word.
Well, thank you. First of all, I'm going to buy a red jacket. That's the first thing I'm going to do. Okay. And I'm going to send you a copy of our no piece so you can get a chuckle out of that. But I love your sense of humor. I love your dedication. And I thank you so much for doing this because it's just been a lot of fun.
Well, again, Danielle, I appreciate your time. I want to wish you the best of luck. Certainly, folks, on November 7th, you have choices in the municipality of Bogota, New Jersey. But quite honestly, the best choice, I would argue, certainly is Fede, Connors, and Navarro on November the 7th. I said there on the record. I'm pulling for you guys. Hope you pull it out on November the 7th. So once again, Danielle Fede, she is the Republican candidate for mayor in the township of Bogota, New Jersey, in southern Bergen County, a great municipality, a lot of great things going there. And certainly she's looking to make history coming up on November. My apologies, folks. Verizon Fios continues to be garbage. I don't know how they make money with their garbage network, but folks, she is Danielle Fede, the Republican candidate for mayor in the township of Bogota, New Jersey. And you have an option, you have a choice on November the 7th. I hope it's with Fede, Connors, and Navarro for a better Bogota. Folks, again, thank you so much for joining us here. Danielle, best of luck to you, and we'll talk to you again soon here on Real Talk on Jersey First TV. Have a great night.
Thanks so much. Have a good night.
You're welcome. You too. Folks, great episode there. I apologize for the technical difficulties. I hate you. You know what? To sort of quote Wes Mantooth in Anchorman, you know, the great role played by Vince Vaughn in Anchorman, to Verizon Fios, to its president, to all the technicians, to everybody that's involved in Verizon Fios, I truly hate you. You are useless. This network sucks. I don't know why you keep charging people the money that you do. And it's funny, though. I mean, you know, obviously Verizon Fios has blocked me on Instagram. Just goes to show how sensitive they are over there. But come on, get your act together. I'm doing a show once a week. You can't have your fiber optics work for once? Jesus, que basura. Que basura, Verizon Fios. I got to tell you, folks. Well, ladies and gentlemen, again, you know, it's one of those things here on the show. We appreciate you tuning in here. It is 7:43 here on the East Coast. Again, a great conversation tonight with Bogota mayoral candidate Danielle Fede. Certainly you want to check her out online as well as her ticket. Connors and Navarro also, and Fede for Bogota. Obviously, you have choices, folks, in November 7th. I hope it is with Fede, Connors, and Navarro coming up on Election Day. Ladies and gentlemen, before we let you go for tonight, you know what time it is. Of course, it is time for final thoughts. And I got to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, you know, I make it a point to read the news feed. And by the way, folks, keep the comments coming to Don McPeck there. Yeah, you know, well, listen, you're still watching, so must not be that bad of a show, obviously. But to everybody else, keep the comments coming. We appreciate your feedback here on Jersey TV. And, you know, one of the things that's interesting, ladies and gentlemen, when I read the news feed over the weekend, I think of, well, you know, who am I going to pick on this weekend? Obviously, on the latest edition, because we have so many I can't even call them journalists, right? They're just propagandists. And obviously, whether it's Insider NJ and the Three Stooges there, obviously, or other journalists that you know work at Insider NJ, members of the Lollipop Guild, you know, obviously also other news sites masquerading as that when they're just propagandists as well, like the New Jersey Monitor, the New Jersey Playbook by Matt Friedman. I think he just bought like his 7th cat tonight. I could be wrong, but it seems like Maddie maybe just bought like his 7th or 8th cat or something over the weekend. Whether it's those news sites, again, just masquerading as journalists when they're not. They're just full-blown propagandists. Or NJ Spotlight News, the Bergen Record / NorthJersey.com. Obviously, we all know that they continue to do us a disservice. But, folks, I think it's hard to argue that the biggest disservice to New Jersey media, and that's really difficult because we all know who's guilty of that, right? Insider NJ, NJ Spotlight News, the New Jersey Monitor, NorthJersey.com. But I would argue the biggest disservice to you or I every single day, ladies and gentlemen, without a doubt, it's NJ.com. And you know what? It's really funny to me. I check my inbox, right? So like I'll go on my phone, right? And I'll be like scrolling through my inbox, right? And at least once a week, I will get an email, you know, sort of a mass blast email generated by NJ.com saying that please support us. Please support our brand of journalism for only $1. Folks, spoiler alert, NJ.com, the Star Ledger, is not even worth $1. Now, again, the reason I read NJ.com is because I get to use somebody else's password and username because I wouldn't waste 1 cent on NJ.com. And it shows by a lot of the poor columns that they produce and a lot of the garbage journalism that they manufacture each and every week. And of course, folks, when we talk about garbage journalism, ladies and gentlemen, at NJ.com, we all know who I'm talking about. I mean, it's not even, folks, I don't even have to keep you in suspense. Because when it comes to garbage journalism in New Jersey, ladies and gentlemen, we all know who it is. It's Tommy boy, Tom Moran. And I got to tell you, I mean, look at this guy. Folks, I got to tell you, if there was ever a person that was the poster child that married the first piece of tail that gave him tail, it's Tom Moran. Okay, look at this clown over here. Look at this clown. But the latest column by this clown at NJ.com, and this is rich here, on climate, dishonest sabotage from Jersey Republicans. Here's the latest nonsensical collection of words that passes as journalism at NJ.com. So Tom Moran starts his boring column by saying, did you hear the news that Democrats in Trenton are going to force you to surrender your gas stove and buy an electric one? You may have, because leading Republican legislators are making that claim. They say you'll have to give up the gas boiler that heats your home too, and it will cost a typical New Jersey family tens of thousands of dollars. One problem, all that is flatly untrue, excuse me. The new policy offers financial incentives to encourage a switch to electric. There is no mandate. Where have I heard that before from Trenton? But Tommy won't tell you that because, again, that will require Tommy to have that pesky 4-syllable word, right? And we all know he struggled, among other things he struggles with. But that 4-syllable word, integrity, we all know he doesn't have that. More on that later. So if you want to keep your gas stove and boiler, you are free to do so. Tom, that's not going to be the case. So, for example, Joe Fioraliso, the president of the Board of Public Utilities, talk about another useless person in Trenton, right? An appointed position, making hundreds of thousands of dollars, just being useless in Trenton. He goes on to say, quote, stop the lying. There is going to be no mandate. Yeah, I've heard that before. We have not established a gas stove police force. Not yet. Nobody is going to bother the local pizza joint if they use a gas oven. Yes, they will, Joey. Okay? You, just like Tommy, excel at lying. Honestly, there's fear-mongering going on. It's mind-boggling. No, what's mind-boggling is how much money you make, Joe, for doing nothing on a daily basis. But more on that later. The politics around climate change has taken a strange turn in New Jersey in recent months, according to Tom Moran, with both sides agreeing that support for climate action is eroding, that the strategy of deception is working. It started in December when the first of nearly a dozen dead whales washed up on the Jersey shore. Gee, how'd that happen, Tom? Critics called for a moratorium on offshore wind projects, claiming that sonar testing might have somehow thrown off the whales, which is true. Okay. Research by government scientists, which is interesting because which government scientists we talk about here, and academics, which is even funnier in New Jersey, right, when the majority of them are all left-wing lunatics anyway, have found no evidence to support the idea, and they say that whales died in collision with ships. Okay, Tom, sure, because sonar has nothing to do with that. Okay, yeah. Because whales haven't been swimming the oceans for decades now, and obviously have developed a sense of their surroundings, and they know when ships are around. So they're just happily and blindly running into ships in the oceans. Wow, that's interesting. Given the increase in the local whale population in the country's busiest shipping corridor, that's no surprise. But the crackpot theory blaming offshore wind has gained traction, eroding public support for the effort, according to polls. Will history repeat on this effort to electrify homes and businesses? If so, it could cripple the climate fight, since fossil fuel emissions from buildings account for about 28% of the total. For that reason, the governor's office is taking these bogus claims seriously. Yes, the governor's office, who's flying back and forth on private jets, which we all know that private jets emit the highest amount of CO2 of any vessel, right? It'd be funny if Tommy would ever call out the emperor on that, or other limousine liberals that fly private jets, right? But more on Tommy's usual virtual signaling later, right? So what's interesting about the comment, again, I'm not going to go through all this entire nonsense here, but some interesting points stood out for me. So, of course, Tommy goes on to write, State Senator Tony Bucco, the Republican leader in the Senate, recently wrote an op-ed in the Star-Ledger, which is interesting because the Star-Ledger doesn't really produce any interesting op-eds, right? But at least, once in a blue moon, they'll do that. Again, a clock is... and that families and businesses would bear the brunt of the exorbitant upfront costs to replace their furnaces, stoves, and other major home appliances. Complying with these mandates, quote, mandates, will cost families tens of thousands of dollars, he claimed, right? Well, that's true, Tom. And when it comes to the word mandate, really? As if Trenton has never mandated anything? Do you know the grief I got for not being vaccinated? And I'm still not vaccinated because I don't believe in that. Now, of course, because I think you're like 84, 85, right? I get it. You want to get vaccinated? Good. And you've gotten 13 boosters, God bless you. Whatever. That's your decision. I'm not going to shame you for that. But people like you, Tom, would shame people like me for not being vaccinated, right? And we're always about a mandate, making sure that we would make the lives of the unvaccinated as uncomfortable as possible. Tom, it's douchebags like you that would make people like me uncomfortable in the workplace, anywhere else, because we don't want to get vaccinated, right? Because you felt there should be mandates. Oh, but mandates won't be coming from Trenton. Don't stop being dumb. I know you're dumb on a regular basis, but now you're showing the level of stupidity that you're exhibiting, quite frankly, and really quite egregiously. But let's continue with this joke of a column. In an interview, Bucco conceded that there is no mandate in this rule, but he said a mandate is inevitable, which is true, Tom, because obviously, how is the emperor going to try to get people to comply with this other than a tyrannical mandate, which we all know that the emperor loves tyrannical mandates because he lives on them. We saw it during COVID and everything else. So stop pretending like they don't exist, Tommy, right? Given that the emperor's plan to reach zero emissions is a goal by 2050. There's no way that goal can be met with just incentives, which is true by State Senator Bucco. Again, folks, Tom won't tell you that because Tom would rather virtue sing because he thinks that we're going to be underwater tomorrow and that Aquaman is going to get hired and other people in Atlantis are going to come to the surface and work for the United States Postal Service because they're the only people that are qualified to deliver mail because we're going to be underwater tomorrow, right? Didn't I hear something, right, about the polar ice caps melting, right? Didn't we hear lunatics like Al Gore say, we'll be underwater by 2004? And then when that didn't happen, by 2014, that didn't happen either. Next year's 2024. Is the same talking point going to get repeated, Tom? Because you love to repeat talking points, right? Or, for example, you also referenced State Senator Holly Schepisi, another honorable, distinguished legislator who makes the same bogus claims on mandates and costs, offered other objections. The governor is exceeding his legal authority, which he's done already. We know he's done this when it comes to mandates. You think he won't try to do it now, Tom? Don't be naive. Don't be dumb, dude. I mean, I get it. That's just your nature. But come on, Mayor, you're better than that. I mean, you're 85 years old. I would hope in the 85 years you've lived that you'd be smart enough to know that, hey, when you see mandate, more will follow, right? Though she concedes Republicans have not tested that theory in court. The added electricity will strain the existing grid, which is true. Look what's happening in California, Tom, right? Pretty boy Gavin Newsom over there is trying to mandate electric vehicles there by probably the end of this decade. How are you going to power all those vehicles when the grid is faulty, right? Or when you're having moratoriums on charging things in the home because you need to make sure that the grid isn't getting overworked. Is that what you want here in New Jersey, right? I mean, seems like that's what the emperor wants, right? Of course, the BPU, the Board of Public Utilities, have approved billions of dollars in upgrades already with more in the works. Yes, the useless Board of Public Utilities and the people that are appointed to these positions, I trust them about as much as I trust, me and Tom Moran regrowing hair on our scalps, right? But ladies and gentlemen, again, this is where, Tom Moran shows his colors. And this is where NJ.com shows its colors again. Tom, we saw it during the pandemic. We've seen it with these curriculums being mandated. And now we're seeing the emperor's little lapdog, the attorney general, a guy who clearly never took or passed constitutional law in law school, which is interesting to me because you would think the attorney general of the state of New Jersey would have taken constitutional law. That's a class he's clearly not proficient in. But if you don't think mandates come from Trenton and one mandate won't come from this, you're incredibly naive. And so is the Star Ledger and so is NJ.com for even publishing nonsense like this. But folks, again, it's a reminder. You think about what NJ.com is always asking for, right? They're always asking for, a dollar here, a dollar there. When it comes to bad journalism, folks, nobody really exemplifies that better than NJ.com. The audacity to ask people for even a dollar to subscribe to their exclusive content. Folks, NJ.com isn't worth a dollar, and neither is Tom Moran. Spend your money elsewhere. There's better things to buy in the marketplace than anything that Tom Moran peddles or anything that NJ.com peddles. Folks, before I let you go tonight, a special shout out to my good friend, Amy Ciardi, wonderful local jeweler in the tri-state area, an amazing collection there. Check it out, folks, at www.ciardicollection.com. Fine jewelry available to you. there at wonderful prices, hand detailed pieces there. You can check out once again on the website, www.crtcollection.com. Ladies and gentlemen, you got a special lady in your life. Hey, Christmas will be here before you know it, and you're looking to purchase fine, handcrafted jewelry, ladies and gentlemen, in the tri-state area. Trust in the CRT collection. It's really, really good. I've seen it up close. Trust me. And of course, check it out. Once again, shout out to Amy Ciardi, a big fan of the show, fellow conservative. Certainly adore her for that. But of course, more importantly, folks, one of the leading entrepreneurs in the New Jersey, New York, tri-state area. Check out her wonderful collection once again by going to www.crtcollection.com. Folks, that's our show for this week. Once again, I want to thank Daniele, the candidate for mayor in the township of Bogota, New Jersey. I'm rooting for her along with Mr. Connors and Mr. Navarro coming up on November the 7th. Folks, if you're just joining us live right now, hey, download the episodes. Sharing is caring. And do share them throughout the evening and throughout this week as well. Folks, always remember to like Real Talk with Fernando Uribe on Facebook as well as Jersey First TV. Don't forget to subscribe to Jersey First on YouTube. And, of course, also wherever you get your podcast, whether it's Spotify or SoundCloud, download it and take it with you throughout the summer months. If you're going down to Martel's Tiki Bar on Mondays, visiting in-laws, I don't know, maybe visiting colleges with your kids. Hey, whatever it is you're doing, folks, whether you're driving in an Uber or a Lyft, or just taking mass transit to get to where you want to get to during the summer months, listen to Jersey First TV anywhere at any time. And I cannot say enough how proud I am to be on the dream team of Garden State Media. That's right, folks. It is Jersey First TV. Without a doubt, the best content you'll see anywhere every single week. Once again, via jerseyfirst.org/TV. Brand new episodes of The Nader Narrative premiere every Thursday, once again hosted by the incredible Elizabeth Nader, and certainly brand new episodes of Bridging the Gap, hosted by conservative millennials AJ Malilo and Stephen Rumbola. Folks, it's refreshing to see conservatives and millennials like this that are free thinkers, that are commonsensical. Folks, you'll enjoy their programs. Also, brand new episodes air every Thursday, once again via jerseyfirst.org. Monday night of Real Talk with Fernando Uribe via Jersey First TV. Folks, I cannot say enough, quite frankly, how I'm thankful to all of you that tune in every single week. Despite all the technical difficulties that Verizon Fios, the most garbage internet service that there is, again, despite all these technical difficulties during a broadcast, quite frankly, every single week, I appreciate you tuning in and always sharing the episodes. And the traffic continues to be very strong. Folks, almost 5,000 views for last week's episode. I'm sure the traffic will be great this week as well. And always remember, ladies and gentlemen, if it's unbiased, unfiltered, and unafraid, it's always Real Talk right here via Jersey First TV. I am New Jersey's premier award-winning journalist, top 50 Latino, as voted on by the Latino Spirit Online magazine, the weapon of mass disruption in Garden State media. Without a doubt, ladies and gentlemen, the people's choice and the people's voice, and yes, the most handsome face that runs the place. Yes, it's me, Fernando Uribe, saying, folks, enjoy the rest of your week. Please party responsibly, and I'll see you next week live here on Real Talk via Jersey First TV. Have a great rest of your week, everybody. And as always, hey, always remember, if you can be good, be bad, baby. Enjoy the rest of your week, and we'll see you next Monday Night Live, folks, here for Real Talk via Jersey First TV. Have a great night.